Not everyone faced with a devastating illness becomes obsessed with finding a cure, and even fewer succeed. But when illness struck Elaine Delack of Stanwood, Washington, she refused to take the diagnosis lying down. Her inspiring story is one of faith and perseverance, a miraculous journey that may someday benefit you or someone you love. Elaine Delack has always had a strong spirit, born perhaps from the years she spent growing up on a remote ranch in Montana.
I've always been a person that, you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to do it.
In 1979, Elaine married Marvin Delack. It was a storybook marriage. The couple was blessed with a beautiful baby girl, and it wasn't long before they were expecting their second child. What happened next would turn Elaine's world upside down.
During my pregnancy, I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I couldn't move my left leg. The doctor said, well, it's probably just the way the baby's sitting. It's probably hit on a nerve.
Elaine gave birth to a son, but her joy was short-lived when she was suddenly overwhelmed with fatigue.
Got to the point where she would start feeling numbness and actual loss of limb use. And it scared us.
A couple times, I'd wake up in the middle of the night, and my son was crying. I'd go to throw my legs over to the side of the bed and get up, and I just fell flat on my face.
She's that young, she's that strong, she's in that good a shape. You know, what could this be?
Elaine went to one doctor after another and was eventually diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. It was devastating news, but it was nothing compared to what happened next.
His reply to me was, there's nothing we can do for you. You eat good and get your sleep.
Things only got worse when the couple learned that MS is not only debilitating, it can eventually be fatal.
Multiple sclerosis is a disease of the central nervous system. Then as time goes on, generally it progresses to the point where you have permanent disability. Maybe first your legs, maybe you end up having to use a cane and then a front wheel walker and then a wheelchair. There is no cure for MS. There is really nothing they can do to even stop the symptoms.
Here's my wife, Elaine, an energetic individual who's going to have her youth just stolen from her by a disease.
Elaine realized that her life had changed forever. But true to her nature, she wasn't about to take the diagnosis lying down.
I've just never been that kind of a person to just roll over and say, okay, this is my destiny. And I was determined I was going to beat this thing.
But Elaine's condition was getting worse. Her doctors had prescribed the standard medicines for treating MS, but the drugs weren't working.
I had contemplated, always wanting to go back to nursing school, but when you can't even write a complete check without your hand stopping, there was no way I'd be able to sit in a class and take notes or even have the energy to get to the class.
Elaine was frantic to find ways to reduce her symptoms, and she learned of a doctor who was treating MS patients with injections of vitamin B12 and adenosine phosphate. Although an unconventional treatment, Elaine was desperate for relief.
I started to feel better. I got to the point where I wasn't totally fatigued. I wasn't totally symptom-free. I still had a lot of numbness and tingling and pain. But I could actually accomplish things. In fact, I went on and decided to go back and finish my nursing degree.
When Elaine graduated and landed her first nursing job, she tried to convince doctors to treat their MS patients with the same drugs that had eased her symptoms. When they dismissed her claims as nonsense, she set out to prove them wrong.
There would be books everywhere. We wouldn't be able to eat in the kitchen table, and I would have to beg her to just stop studying for a little bit, just make us some dinner, because she was so into it. She just had to find this. And
then, during one of her frequent trips to the library, Elaine stumbled upon something that all of her doctors had missed. The miraculous conclusion, when It's a Miracle continues.